Welcome back to Sprockets. It's in. Pretty excited about this. Well, as you've seen, it took a little bit of doing. I've been trying to get hold of a conveyor belt. I found some, but I just couldn't keep waiting, so I've run it in here on boards and lifted it up. So it run in on the front tyres, which are still there, and it's just sitting on boards now, so it hasn't damaged the concrete. All right, that bonnet and that windscreen. This one's a little bit different. It's absolutely trashed in the back end. I'll show you that, where there's water been getting into it. But the bonnet's always been on it, so the spark plugs are in. So it's quite possible that the engine might be able to be revived. So I've got to pull all this crap off so I can get some plugs out, and I'll do some bore scoping and have a bit of a look and give it a good soak. I actually hold quite a bit of hope for this engine. There's some bits and pieces missing, so water has got into the sump, but it's only been in the sump. And judging by the volume that came out, it shouldn't have gone up very high at all. It wouldn't have touched the crank. So, righto, track rattlers, let's get into it. So I've proceeded to spend a good hour or so. I've got all the water out of the back end. It was the high tide mark was up a bit higher than what it was when I first pulled the lid off it. The back end's locked up because the centre, the diff centre's all swollen. I've got all the water and crap. I've got both final drives, as you can see, dribbling away. I'm yet to pull the oil out of the diff itself. Most of it, it all shares a compartment, but the diff is actually lower. And this is what you're working with. So the water was dripping onto here and straight into that diff centre, and that's a planetary planetary setup in the middle there, and it's all swollen up and actually locked the whole back end up, which is it's a big shame. But it's not the end of the world, because I've got other bits and pieces, and there's nothing unrepairable. That's all bulldozed apart, so I'd be able to find another diff centre. Bearings are not an issue. You'd soda blast all the gears and make them go. It's pretty sad up the top here where all the moisture's sat, condensation. That there is an actual breather, and there was one of those right here, and that was gone. This is the plate. So that's where the breather plugs in. It's completely rotted off. And the amount of water and crap and leaf litter. This one sat under a tree. That's why things are in pretty rough shape. But all this will come up. Look, this back section of panel will be replaced. That front section will survive. The other side's okay. Everything else I've got on over there and on other machines. So this is what I'm happy about. We've got all these bits and pieces. I'll be able to replicate that. I've got to try and find a generator or an electric motor to replicate the generator which sat here. This is very interesting. Kenny doesn't have this, so I'm going to pull this off and fabricate one of these and send him one, because that's the hot air gets pushed in from the fan and around the exhaust manifold and wanders up there and actually comes out to warm the cab up when it's got a canvas on it. So there's little bits and pieces that we're sharing information and parts. I've been speaking to a gentleman in Belgium who restores gauges. He's got some of these, which are very, very, very uncommon. This one doesn't have an ID plate, but it doesn't matter because I've already got one. It's going to be a mismatch anyway, so it's not terribly important. I hope to throw the distributor I've got in and make that starter motor go and put some plug leads on it, and if I can get it to turn and if the bores don't look too terrible, all the spark plugs are still in it. So if I can get it to turn over and the bore scope up all right, I'm going to see if this engine will actually spring to life. I firmly believe that it was the track that was thrown off it, which was exactly how it was found. That's why it got parked. So it's very possible that that's still alive, even though the radiator core's been cut out, but I've never run it for long enough anyway. But I can get that record. The flag pole's very original. I need to put lens in that light. I need another light, little indicators and bits and pieces. So all this stuff's very, really important. This got bent when it was transported. I'm not sure how, but it doesn't matter. The winch, not the winch, sorry. Yes, the winch. The winch goes here. This is the little gearbox. There's a set of clutches in here, which is actuated by this lever, which engages the drive for this. This belt drives the, underneath this guard, drives the alternator. This is supposed to have a little gear on it, which comes down and drives the winch. That lever's broken, but that's all right because I've got a lever. They're identical, they've got a slight angle on them. So I've got a lever. So this will get all refurbed. There's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff to do. Lots of stuff to do, but it's in. I've got it in. And currently, we're dribbling engine oil out very, very, very slowly. So I think the first thing to do is to try and get that off, which is going to be an absolute pain in the arse because we've got these rounded bolts with nuts on the inside tucked up under the guards, which is connected to the firewall as well as the bonnet. So I've got to get that off to be able to get that off, and it just, yeah, lots of heat, lots of swearing. Let's fly into it. What a pain in the arse. Well, there's hope yet. I really want to get this bonnet off because there's every chance there's riding up these sides, and I'll be able to see the shadow or the outline. And this is the good bonnet. It's nice and straight, it hasn't been modified. This little piece here is there so you can get the filters out, but there's a little cover, and I've got that on another bonnet. This is just going to be a pain in the ass. This is designed to fold down, and this should restore up quite nicely. There's a few rust patches, but really at the end of the day it's only angle iron. So this will come up quite nice. Bit of damage from getting bumped into things and probably getting bashed on trees, but once again, that'll straighten. Let's work on this thing. Well, while we're waiting for the smoke to clear, I think I'm going to be using the gas a lot. This should. So there's one bolt here, another one there, and the two in the middle were up. So I blew the nuts off from this side to that. That is the windscreen. So it's going to need all these little brackets and that made back up again and some repair work, but all in all it's nice and solid and complete. It's complete, that's the main thing. So at the very least I know what it looks like. And I'm guessing that wire probably went to a wiper. That's probably exactly what was there on the outside. Something like a Land Rover wiper assembly, or in saying that, these things would be a military standard, so I'll probably just get one of those. Success! I think most of the work is going to be gas axe work because it's just, all the bolts are so corroded. So we'll just keep blowing them off, so it should come apart pretty quickly. Bonnets, let's go. Actually, a little bit of writing I can see here now with better light. And that is pretty warm. Oh, throw some gloves on. So what I'm intending to do is steam clean this bonnet, and I'm hoping I'll have the shadow of all the writing that should be on it. I can already see a P and an R something, but whether that survives I don't know. There's plenty of green still on this. Hopefully under all this lichen and moss and mould we'll find some more writing, plenty more paint. Now we can see what we got. So we can also see why the spark plugs rotted off on the other machines. I can count 6 spark plugs, so but look at that shit. And there's actually a little well where the spark plug sits in, so all the leads are where they're supposed to be. It's giving me a lot of information. It's all well and good to look at pictures, but it's giving me so much information as to where things are supposed to go and how it's all supposed to go back together. So I'm going to vacuum all that rubbish out, and we'll start soaking those plugs with the plan of getting them out and having a good look in the engine. So this piece here draws air in. Well, it doesn't draw it. The hot air from the radiator gets forced in this piece down here and gets pushed along around the exhaust manifold and up in between the firewall and the fuel tank, and that circulates hot air in the cab. Now Kenny doesn't have this piece, so what I want to do is take it off, because it needs to come off anyway, and we're going to get it replicated for him and send it over. He's got parts for me, I've got parts for him. So I've got 1, 2 and then a third here on the preheater. So I'm going to have to cherry red that. Those ones should just need a bit of heat, but we'll use the gas and we'll get them nice and hot, and they should come straight off. I really have to be gentle with this because it is, well, it's one of a kind at the moment. I don't have another one and Kenny doesn't have one, so we'll get it off in one piece. It's even got a little shutter in the side here so you can turn the hot air off. So yeah, let's try and get this off in one piece. Right, turn it off. That's how we roll. Makes all the difference. Set a little bit of heat. Right, now we'll go back to that other one. Right, turn it off. Aha, here we go, here we go. There we go. Of course, our standard wasp. Yeah, go and drown in that for a while. Bloody wasps. They make nests everywhere and grow queens, and the queens go and nest in your wood heap. Oh, look at that. That is what I have to get manufactured or fabricated. And it's got the little, you may be able to see it, little flapper in there to stop the air. That's brilliant. That is great news. Success. We've got all kinds of bits and pieces off. We need to take the fuel tank off before we can sort of get this air cleaner off in bits and pieces. So we might turn our attention to the back end and take those major parts off that I need for this one we're putting together, because then that can, yeah, that's what it needs before it goes away and gets out of the shed. And then we'll probably work on the guards, which will get me closer to the guards and the tank. And you've all seen that. But we'll keep a track of it for sure. Okay, get all the burnable stuff away. Because we are going to need some heat. So I believe this has something to do with hammer. There we go. To do with the compressor. No, not the compressor, sorry. Seized. Right, there we go. I believe this levery army bit would have had a handle of some sort on it, and I believe this has a fair bit to do with the main tow hitch down the bottom, so you could reach over the back seat and disengage it, unhook it. How it works, I can't remember. I'll have to look at the photos from the US Air Force Museum. That will tell me exactly where they belong and how it's supposed to look. But it's all there. It's just all rotten and buggered. I don't know where it goes and how it works just yet. We'll get to that. I will leave that on there for now. That can go there. Those bits, my God, they're terrible. I'll get these off and get them out of the way, and then we can start pulling apart some of this stuff where the compressor mounts. So there's the compressor mounts here, big pulley, 3 belts and drives off the PTO, so I need that pulley for the other build. I also need this bit of tube here, which is the filler for the entire gearbox, I believe, because it goes into that hitch and then drops down in there, so that's got to come off. So we'll most likely take that entire piece off the back because it doesn't need to be there. Right, let's get some gloves and some goggles on. We've got to use some heat.
How am I gonna make a man out of you? What's gonna make that pistol shoot? How do I get you out of them boots? There's a devil in an angel suit. Hitting that trail's all I wanna do. Rope my heart, pull it back to you. Throw back some whiskey and get in the fight. I say ride, cowboy ride. Oh darling, saddle up. in a stagecoach in the night. Ain't no stopping, ain't no stalling. Gonna ride till we get it right. Oh, finger on the trigger, nothing to lose. Fork in the road, baby, you get to choose. Now I say, go and ride, cowboy, ride. Love like venom running in my veins, hitting my heart like a runaway train. Don't be scared, we'll find our way. Come on, let me take you away.
Woo, that's a lot of gas. She looks a bit more bare now. There's a lot of rotten stuff. I've got a lovely pile of parts now. Got a good straight bonnet. It's actually nowhere near as bad as what I thought it'd be. This is the undercarriage that I'm going to use for reasons that will become clear later. The sprockets are actually really good, so I'm going to use those. I've started to strip off some bits and pieces like these wings because we're going to use those. I'll give you a look at the bits and pieces out the front here. So these are all our running boards off the left. There are running boards off the right, or the guards. This is the back end, so all this stuff's going on the machine. That one's good, that one wants straightening, this one's straightening here. This is our beautiful, yet to be repaired generator cover. There's our bonnet. The bonnet, I'm going to actually take that over to the steam cleaner and give that a wash. So as I said, we've got good sprockets, they'll come off. It's pretty bloody sad down in here where the water and the leaf litter and the shit is sat. It's just all rotted off. Like, what do you do? Now we can actually see our linkage, which actuates the dog clutch up in there. So that'll become clear once all this comes off. The next step, I believe, will be this gearbox. We've got the crane we can deal with that, and then we can deal with the radiator. And then I suppose we will start taking some of this goodness off here. I need to turn the machine around, so I'm going to have to wait for some conveyor belts. I got a bit carried away. Bit of a mistake on my behalf. The other one was reversed in, so the undercarriage would roll out, but you know, what do you do? So when I get some conveyor, I'll take it out and I'll back it back in and strip it basically back down to a frame. The last thing to come out with will be the engine. Now the engine, the spark plugs came out. Cleaned them all up. It all looks pretty good. You're looking down at the valves. The pistons are actually on this side. I tipped some acetone ATF in all of them. I think it was number 3. I tipped it in and it comes straight out the sub plug. So the fact, look out, even that's rotten. So the fact that it's come straight out the sub plug tells me that they've got a rotten piston, but most likely a melted piston, which probably explains why they parked it. Now there is a story behind this one. I'm going to get the official story. It's been written by the gentleman I bought it off. He wrote it down. But it was in the bush pulling out a cable for winching logs. So I was probably working pretty hard. So my plans and dreams and aspirations of actually trying to make this engine go, I reckon they're dead in the water. So yeah, pull the head off it at some stage or another and actually have a bit of a look at the damage. I don't know any other way that the material would get past the piston unless there's just damage. It's just got to be damage. Literally, I poured it in, it dribbled straight out into the drum underneath. So it's a bit of a sad state of affairs. I will, what am I doing now? I'm going to get rid of all this rusty crap and then I reckon I'm going to go to the front of the machine. I haven't filmed a lot because we've seen it all before. It's no different. These running guards were actually easier than the last one because the last one were fabricated and all welded on and a bit of a pain in the ass. These ones were pretty easy considering that I had to blow the bolts off with gas, but they come off in 2 sections. The idlers were really good. They come off pretty right. We're going to use the MG1. Yeah, they were backwards. The MG2 was first, and then the MG1 came second. Now we're going to use the MG2. Yeah, the 2 springs. These are MG1. I'll show you the difference. So there you go. So this is the MG1, which is the second iteration. So there's a simplified idler adjuster that bolts down flat against the on the track frame, and then you wind the big bolt out, idler goes out, tightens track. The other part of that is over there. So this gearbox here is next. It should be just a row of bolts underneath and come out. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to get the book and have a bit of a squeeze here. And then the radiator can come out. I won't have the issues that I had before because there's no fan. That's all right, I've got another fan. I can just swing that out of the way, and then it's going to give me access to the dog clutch. So this is the stuff I will film because we haven't done this. All these actuator lever and all these bits and pieces, so all this will come apart and all be refurbed, made work. I've been soaking these. That shaft just there wants a bit of heat to make this button work. It's all spring loaded. And that should all come back to life. We've got a nice, genuine air cleaner. I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with how all this is. It's all rotten and buggered, but it shows me how all the wiring and all the plug leads are supposed to be. So that's really good. I've been speaking to a gentleman in Belgium about a Speedo. The Speedo cable, I'm not sure whether that'll come with. I've been soaking the bit here. That should just pull out of there. I'm not sure how it'll go. Maybe I can get a cable. If not, I can get one made. It's coming along very nicely. Coming along. Well, that was quick and painless. 2 bolts. All the hoses are on, the bottom one's rotten off and the top one slipped off. So we're all rigged up. This should just come straight up and I'll be able to manhandle it out of the way. I'm going to leave it up the front here until this machine gets out of the way. While I'm out there turning it around, I'll shuffle all this stuff out of the way. Let's do it. Caught on something. What do we call it? Down on line. That'll do it. It's the grease point for the dog clutch. Righto. So that pipe's rotted off, so that's disconnected, but the actual spout's caught under this grease line. So I've just got to disconnect that there and get it out of the way. What a shit design. So there's on the back of this gearbox there's a protruding, I suppose there's a bearing there, but it's protruding slightly with a cap in it. And that's actually catching the radiator. I might be able to roll it backwards away from it. It's got a long drain under there, so I can't just shove it out of the way. There we go. to get up there and manhandle that to get that pipe up out of the chassis because I don't have enough lift. Unless I sling it differently. I'll try and sling it differently. Now what? There. Buy an engine chain with a short chain. Right, now that's on the ground. I've got to work out how this works. What a mission. Rusty old bucket of shit. It's given me a lot of good parts, and stuff like what I just did just then is learning. It's all information. So we'll cut it off about here. Please like, hit the little button. Share and subscribe. Share's the important one. Share it around. There's a huge following of military vehicles in the world. This is well worth it. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.